Okay, and I will talk about how not to reinvent the wheel in HTML5 game development. Yeah, we will try. It's my first conference this year, so okay. Yeah, who am I? It's okay. You've seen anything? Okay. I'm JavaScript developer from Warsaw, city not so far from here, and I'm also open web game developer. So that means I'm working on games in browsers, but without any plugins and things like that. I'm also organizer of onGameStart, first HTML5 game conference ever. And the first edition was in September last year in Warsaw. And the second one will be also in September and also in Warsaw and also about HTML5 games. And I'm also working on a lot of ridiculous stuff on the web just for fun because, as I always said, we are front-end web developers, right? And web development is not our job, but it's our lifestyle, right? So we have to work also on some fun things because fun is an important part of our lives, right? Okay, in the regular game development, not only that related to web, we have two types of developers working on games. There are regular web developers, game developers, so there are actually guys who just create games using some already developed tools, and they are mostly known as the game developers, right? And there are tool developers, so the guys who creates the tools that helps the game developers creating games, right? And that is the hardest part, not so fun as creating games itself, but I think the most important part. And today I will present a couple of tools that help you create your own game. Okay, so about the tools. We can divide it into engines and frameworks, to libraries, or some other helpers. So I'm not sure if that is a good name for that, but let's say that helpers are just not libraries, not frameworks, and not engines, okay? And talking about that, for example, Photoshop is some kind of application that is useful when you're creating your own game, right? Because you can create the graphics for it, but it's not really related to web, right? If you're creating some other game for desktop or stuff like that, you also can use Photoshop. Also, let's say some animation managers for creating sprites and animations and things like that. And also some sound managers if you want to create this sound, music, or stuff like that to your games. And also, yeah, that's back to the web, right? Let's say that you want to create the intro animation for your game, what is really important in regular games and not so popular yet in web games. You can use some tools for that, and you don't want to use Flash. Like Animatable, it's like Flash, but in the browser, and it's IDE for creating animations, right? So you can just simply by clicking and dragging the elements, you can just create the nice animation and export it to the CSS animation or JavaScript animation. And also we have our Polish solution for that. It's Błysk, because Błysk is like Flash in Polish, right? It's just closed beta now, but you can register there and maybe you will get some access later. Okay, what's next? The libraries. So basically, it's, in my opinion, library is just part of framework or part of engine responsible for just one small thing, right? So for example, so engines and frameworks are just a couple of libraries or things like that you can use to create games. So for example, let's We know that managing the keyboard and player input in browsers is kind of hard because different browsers you implement it in different way in different browsers. It's not so important now, but it used to be. So there are a couple of different libraries that can help you with that, like Sane Keys by Szymon Piłkowski. Yeah, I like to pronounce it Sankey, like Sankey, yeah? Okay, but still. If you want to, for example, implement Mortal Kombat in browser, you can just use the combo function of that library, and it will just run the callback when the player will push the buttons in the order you create before that. Or there is some nice library, Konami.js. You heard of Konami Code? No one plays Contra ever, or something like that? Really? Okay, Konami Code is code like that, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, start. And it was, let's say, hidden password in all the Konami games back in the 80s and 90s. And we have a library for that also in JavaScript. So if you want to use it in your game or in your page, you can just implement this stuff and everything will work. The funny thing is that on WebOS devices like Palm Pre or HP Touch or the tablets or stuff like that, you use Konami Code to enter the development mode of the device. It's quite fun. Okay, the other libraries are sound libraries. We know that sound really sucks in HTML5, right? I hope that it will change later. Probably it will. But now it's important. It's really hard to play the music in the game or playing different sounds. That's why we can use libraries for that, like Sound Manager. And the second version of Sound Manager has still fallback to Flash if your browser is not supporting HTML5 audio, or it supports it but it doesn't work, and it's often like that. So yeah, you can use this library or Buzz. It's really simple stuff. You can just using the same API. Just all the magic is happening just on the back of that library. So you don't care about compatibility or things like that. Also, the really important thing in game development is rendering, right? So the way in which you draw the things on the screen. So we have a couple of libraries also for that, like Processing.js. It's a port of Java library, a really popular Java library, made by John Resig, the jQuery guy. And it really helps you, for example, handle the mouse events on canvas, because as you probably know, it's not possible to, for example, click on one particular element already drawn on canvas and things like that, and Processing made it for you. Or Fabric.js, that is a library made by Kangax. The guy was on Falsy Values last year. That is the game made by Andrzej, the guy who spoke about CSS4 on the last session. Or if you want to create two-dimensional game in WebGL context, you can create it in the same way you create regular canvas game and use that WebGL 2D library for making WebGL, right? You use the same API, but this library adds additional two-dimensional WebGL context to your canvas. So, yeah, maybe I will show it later. And also there are some other libraries, like Easy WebSocket. That is the only way for now, I think, to connect two browsers without thinking about the server. So if you want to make a multiplayer game or connect two browsers like peer-to-peer, you can just use that library. And yeah, it's it's not a peer-to-peer connection because browsers didn't support stuff like that, but it uses Google App Engine somewhere in the cloud, so you don't have to think about that. You just implement it as a regular WebSocket. It has the same API. Oh, yeah. You cannot see nothing in here. OK, but believe me, it's like that. And also, Box2D is, I think, the most popular physics engine ever. Angry Birds were built on that. And it was originally written in C for C games. But then some guys rewrite it to Flash, to ActionScript. And as we know, ActionScript is from the same family as JavaScript, right? It's all ECMA. So one guy, yeah, there were a couple of ports from ECMAScript to JavaScript, but that one made by Jonas Wagner or something like that. The guy from Switzerland is one of the best ever. And it's the only port of the second version of Box2D. Okay, so now we have keyboard libraries, sound libraries, rendering libraries, and other libraries. And when we connect them together, there are engines and frameworks. So basically, engines and frameworks are in here happens all the magic, right? So if you want to create a game and you don't really want to spend a lot of time on coding because you are, for example, game designer or I don't know, graphic designer, right? And you prefer, you don't really like to code. You can use some engines or tools for that. Yeah, but let's start from frameworks. I create my own framework. This is the, I think, only one micro framework for games for the web now. It's like 2.2K, something like that. And it supports all the basic stuff you need to implement to create your own game, like sprites, animations, collision detection, or, yeah, I don't know, background moving and things like that. And it's cross-platform. And also, if you want to create, if you use the API of Mibbo, you don't need to think if you want to create a game for Canvas or for DOM manipulating, because you use the same API and just switch one variable, and it switches the context from DOM to Canvas in an automatic manner. And also, if you create a game on Canvas and someone runs it on IE7, which, as we know, doesn't support like nothing, and it will works then as a DOM game, right? Also, one of the most popular WebGL frameworks is 3JS by Mr. Doob. That is a guy who originally starts as a Flash developer, Flash game developer, but now he switched to WebGL, to JavaScript, to OpenWeb. And yeah, he's on the bright side now. And but he already had really huge experience with regular game development in Flash, right? If we can say that Flash games are regular games, right? And that's why he creates that WebGL library. And it's really easy to use, extremely easy to use, because you don't have to think about all that shaders and other stuff I don't even understand. But if you want to create, for example, cube, you just write new cube, and then the magic happens, right? So when I first saw that library, I created a game in like 3 hours. It was a really simple game, but still, it works, right? So, OK, so besides of that, we have also engines. And engines are like bigger frameworks, right? Yeah, let's say like that. And we have a couple of solutions that works not on the web, but works on your desktop. So for example, that construct thing created by Skyra, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's a Spanish company, I think. You just download the application and make everything like, I don't know, when I was 7 or 8, I had some program for creating games, click and play, and that is basically the same. You just click your game without writing any single line of code, and it just works, right? If you want to implement some logic, you can construct the logic from from Lego bricks, you know, just, I don't know, you can just click that if that element will go there, make that, and things like that. So it's, I don't know, you don't need to know anything to create your own HTML5 game. And also, JoJo Games creates the HTML5 exporter for the game maker. So I think it's the most popular game tool for not programmers. And you can just create a game as in the construct stuff before, and with just one click export it to HTML5. And it really works. And the code is so obfuscated that it's, I think, impossible to read, but still. I think the most popular and the best JavaScript engine, but for, let's say, for the programmers, is Impact, created by Dominik Szablewski. And it supports, I think, everything you need to, everything that engine needs to support, right? So if you want to create your own level, you can just, it has some level editor, it's called Weltmeister. I think it's the master of the word in German or something like that, no? Okay. And you can just also, using that IDE, set some interactions. So for example, I'm not really sure what is in here. Okay, that if that entity enters in here to that zone, then something explodes in here, something moves in here, and something in here, right? It's extremely easy, and I don't know. You need to have the programming knowledge to use it, but it's like, you know, really, it makes everything you need to you need to implement when you're writing game from scratch already. So you don't have to think about the performance. You don't need to think about physics, collisions, or things like that. Also about the basic logic. So for example, that are some moving platforms, and if you want to make the platforms move in your game, you just set 1 point here, 1 point here, and it just moves, right? In some magic way, right? Also, creating games for mobiles is also extremely important in HTML5, right? Because a lot of companies think that, like Flash companies or Flash games companies or the regular game companies like Crytek or EA or the other companies like that, thinks that HTML5 is only for mobiles, right? Because if they want to create something for browsers, it's cheaper or easier to find a Flash developer that already have all the knowledge and experience. So it's easier to use. And so if you want your game to run on the mobile stuff, you can use Impact. You can use AppMobi. I think it's that is AppMobi is something. It creates OpenGL canvas, but like regular OpenGL canvas on Android and iOS devices, and just connect all the functions from your JavaScript logic to the regular display, right? To the regular screen and things like that. So you can create your game in JavaScript, all the logic and all the stuff using Impact, for example, and then I don't know, publish it in the app stores or something like that. Also, there is a page in the internet, right? It's a kind of fun page or things like that, point of impact.js, and there are all the stuff necessary or needed to start working with Impact. So a lot of tutorials, a lot of plugins, a lot of simple games or code snippets or even entities or assets, music, and everything, basically everything you need, right? And really active user forums. So if you have a problem developing your own game, you can just write over there and everything will be clear. Okay, but what if you want to create the two-dimensional game in WebGL, like this? This is Field Runner, a game made by Boko, or I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I believe it's something like that, the company from Boston. And it's not created by them, but it's ported from iOS to WebGL, and you can play it in Chrome because it's already published in Chrome Web Store. And it's created in WebGL, right? So all that outstanding explosions over there, or that funny, I don't even know what, some kind of electricity or things like that, is created on shaders. So, but there is no, we don't have any, w sensie, że mam 4 minuty? O kur. Okay, we don't have any two-dimensional WebGL engine, so, but using Impact, you can, not only Impact, but using any JavaScript, HTML5 game engines, you can use the WebGL 2D library I already thought about and create the WebGL game. So, and that is what, yeah, and, okay, and that is what Dominic, the creator of Impact, made for his game for Mozilla competition last year. So it's everything in here is in WebGL, but it's created from it's created on Impact, right? In the same engine that doesn't support WebGL. And I made the same thing on my Everest game for Pocky competition next month, but okay, it's not the topic for that. Okay, so that's basically everything. There are some questions? Yes.
What is your favorite framework engine?
One more time.
What is your favorite framework?
My favorite framework?
Maybe you wrote your own engine.
Yeah, my favorite engine is, of course, Impact, because it's the best one, right? You have to pay for it, but still, I think it's, if you want to, there is no some trial version or something like that, but if you want to try, you can just pay, and if you are not satisfied with that, Dominic will return all the money. So you don't have, to worry about if you don't like the stuff. But I think it's outstanding, really. Anyone? Yes.
Any comments on comparing the DOM-based game to the Canvas-based?
Yeah, it's all the time like that. Okay, yeah, Canvas is the future, right? And even if all the time I thought that DOM-based games are faster and easier to manage because you don't have to think about, for example, mouse events or things like that, because you have everything on DOM. I think the Canvas is the future. And even now, it is hardware accelerated, not only on WebGL context. So yeah, I think if you want to create a real game, focus on Canvas. Yep.
What is your opinion on native client?
Is cheating. Native client is not open web, right? It's not, even if it's not plugin, it's just supported by one browser for now, right? In Chrome, and I don't really enjoy, and I don't really understand writing games in C that works in browser. What's the point? If you write game in C, it will work on your desktop. You don't need the browser to run it. So I don't really think it will success any time. Yep.
What do you think about Adobe Edge tools?
Yeah, it's Adobe, right? So it's evil. No, I tried the first version, and it kind of works, but we will see. Maybe they will move in the good direction, right? It's good news for us that even our bigger, let's say, competitor, focused on HTML5 now, but I don't know. I'm curious about that. Okay. Yep.
What do you use for prototyping?
For prototyping, yeah, my own framework. Yeah, because that's why I created, right? Because it starts when I just write the games all the time, and each time when I try to write a new game, I just copy and paste the code from my old game and erase everything that is not needed in there, and just after that I put it into one library and one framework, and it works. And that's the tool I know for, you know. Oh, well. Okay. That is the tool I know best, right? So that's why I'm prototyping it. But it's really easy, extremely easy to make something in Impact as well.